Chapter 3865. He never liked to offend talented cultivators, because no one knew what level these cultivators would grow to in the future. It was not a wise move to offend a future peerless expert. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang was not only a cultivator, but also a doctor with outstanding medical skills. This kind of person's appeal has always been very strong. If not for this, Bailey Hongzhuang would have only issued a bounty order, and the Chu Yunshang sisters would be trapped in the house. It could be seen how strong her appeal was. Now he had used the healing medicine made by Bailey Hongzhuang, and the effect was really amazing. Offending such a person would only cause trouble for himself in the future. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could issue a bounty order to trap Chu Yunshang and her sister in the house, she could also issue a bounty order to tie him down. In his principles, this was never what he wanted to do. Unfortunately, Chu Yunyao was Chu Yunshang's biological sister. He couldn't ignore it for Chu Yunshang's sake, which made him very annoyed. That's it. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. You say that's it. It's so simple. You don't even ask the person involved whether they agree or not. Ying, do you think we can agree to this matter? Shangguan Ying chuckled. Of course not. Did you hear that? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun and others. My Ying said she doesn't agree. He Yunjuan's eyes were gloomy, and she said coldly, So, you must carry out this matter to the end? It's good that you know. Seeing this, Chu Yunshang's face couldn't help but become a little ugly. She didn't expect that after He Yunjun appeared, Bailey Hongzhuang and others would still be so unforgiving. Yunjun, what should we do? He Yunjun patted Chu Yunshang's hand and said, Don't worry, I've already made preparations. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you really want to carry out this matter to the end? If this matter ends here, then I, He Yunjun, will owe you a favor. Otherwise, it won't do you any good if we fight. He Yunjun slowly said, his voice filled with threat. He did not want to become enemies with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were determined to see this matter to the end, then he had no other choice. Cut the crap. If you must stand up for them, then just do it. Bailey Hongzhuang's tone was even more resolute. There was no hatred between her and He Yunjun, but since He Yunjun was Chu Yunshang's lover, then they stood on the opposite side. There was absolutely no possibility of reconciliation. At the same time, Di Beichen also stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and looked at He Yunjun. He did not say a word, but he had already used his actions to tell He Yunjun that as long as He Yunjun dared to make a move, she would have to go through him first. Noticing Di Beichen's actions, He Yunjun could not help but frown. Yunjun, this Di Beichen has also reached the strength of the Starlight Realm. Chu Yunshang reminded He Yunjuan's ear. Hearing this, He Yunjun frowned. As early as before Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came back, he and Chu Yunshang discussed how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Unexpectedly, in just a few months, the progress of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had completely exceeded their expectations. Chapter 3866. After noticing the change in He Yunjuan's expression, Chu Yunshang's heart couldn't help but thump. Even if He Yunjun had come, with his strength alone, he was not the opponent of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang. I know that both of you have reached the Starlight Realm, but I also have helpers. As soon as the voice fell, He Yunjuan's eyes looked not far away. Then, a figure slowly walked over under everyone's gaze. The man was wearing a black robe. Looking at his face, he should be 40 years old. His face was quite rough, and there was a sense of majesty when he walked. Seeing the appearance of this cultivator, the faces of everyone present couldn't help but change a little. Niu Zhuang, it's Niu Zhuang. I didn't expect that He Yunjun had been prepared for a long time. Even Niu Zhuang was invited. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang's people are in a bad situation. Chu Yunyao had been silent. Bailey Hongzhuang's previous attack had made her lose her temper. At this moment, she only hoped that she could live well. So after He Yunjun came, she had not spoken. But at this moment, after seeing Niu Zhuang come, a smug smile appeared on her face. Bailey Hongzhuang, your good days are over. Chu Yunyao sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen, and others also glanced at the newcomer. The name Niu Zhuang was really in line with the characteristics of this man. However, from the expressions of everyone present, this Niu Zhuang's strength was probably extremely powerful. Otherwise, everyone would not show such an expression. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but frown and ask, "Senior Brother Run, who is this Niu Zhuang? Why did everyone's expression change after seeing him?" Niu Zhuang is a very famous cultivator in Penglai Inner Palace. His cultivation is very strong. Now he has reached the strength of the Second Order Starlight Realm. Run Ziheng said slowly, and a touch of worry appeared between his eyebrows. This is bad. The strength of the Second Order Starlight Realm is much stronger than the First Order Starlight Realm. Once Niu Zhuang and He Yunjun join forces, then Junior Sister Bailey and the others won't be able to gain any benefits. Yes, there's another reason why this Niu Zhuang is so famous. He is extremely ruthless in his attacks. Most cultivators would not be willing to make an enemy out of him. We did not think that He Yunjun would be able to invite him over. I believe he must have paid a considerable price, Ren Zimei said with a frown. Star Ray Level 2? At this time, Mo Yunjue, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. Hearing Mo Yunjue's words, Run Ziheng nodded. That's right. He has already reached such a level. We have to remind Junior Sister Bailey to be more careful. A wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him. Even if we can't take Chu Yunyao's life this time, we can come again next time. After all, He Yunjun had to pay a hefty price to invite Niu Zhuang. I don't believe that he can invite Niu Zhuang every time. It's just the Second Order Starlight Realm. You don't have to be so worried. Hong Zhuang and Beichun can handle it. Mo Yunjue said slowly. Following Mo Yunjue's words, Ren Ziheng and the others couldn't help but be stunned. Their eyes flashed with doubt. They didn't understand what Mo Yunjue meant. Could it be that after Bailey Hongzhuang and Chu Yunjue joined forces, they could actually defeat the Second Order Starlight Realm Niu Zhuang? Chapter 3867. Chu Yunshang, who was originally extremely nervous after seeing Niu Zhuang, a smile suddenly appeared on her face. Yinjun, I didn't expect you to even invite Niu Zhuang. Chu Yunshang said happily. If it was only He Yunjun alone, it would be difficult for them to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. But Niu Zhuang was a Second-Order Astral Radiance cultivator. With his strength, dealing with a First-Order Astral Radiance cultivator was not a problem. He Yunjun glanced at Chu Yunshang with a smile. I heard that something happened here, and Niu Zhuang happened to be by my side. To be on the safe side, I invited him. Now it seems that my previous judgment was not wrong. Chu Yunshang nodded, looking at He Yunjun with eyes full of affection and worship. You are really prescient. If you didn't invite Senior Brother Niu, we would be in a dangerous situation today. Speaking of this, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others not far away. In just a few months, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' improvement really made her afraid. If they couldn't deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others this time, then they would really be in trouble in the future. He Yunjun obviously understood Chu Yunshang's thoughts and immediately said, Don't worry. After today, this trouble will not exist. Hearing this, Chu Yunshang looked up at He Yunjun. The smile in her eyes deepened. Yunjun, thank you. You are my woman. I naturally won't let anything happen to you. You don't need to thank me. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun and Chu Yunshang whispering. Although she didn't know what they were talking about, she could roughly judge some content from their expressions. Master, they seem to think that after inviting Niu Zhuang, a Second-Order Astral Radiance cultivator, they are already winning. Xiao Hei's eyes revealed a trace of ridicule, chuckling lightly. They are frogs at the bottom of the well, naturally thinking that Niu Zhuang, a Second-Order Astral Radiance cultivator, is enough. Unfortunately, they don't know that Di Beichun is also a Second-Order Astral Radiance cultivator. Xiao Bai's face showed a smug smile. Now is not a hurry to say it. Let's see how arrogant they are later. Presumably, when they know the truth, their expressions will be even more wonderful. Xiao Bai, you are getting worse and worse. Xiao Hei sighed aloud, and then a sly smile sighs. However, My thoughts are the same as yours. Is. After hearing the gloomy words, gloat, and chins, they couldn't help shakings. They were also looking forward to seeing what kind of expression Jun and the others would have when their fantasies were shattered. After a while, his aunt's was, and Jun, you must help me teach them a lesson. Chu Yunyao said aloud. With that, Chu Yunyao's eyes turned to Bailey Hongzhuang again and said, Bailey Hongzhuang, the humiliation you have inflicted on me, I will pay you back double in a while. A sinister smile appeared on Chu Yunyao's face. Her face, which was already swollen like a pig's head, could not be distinguished at the moment. She only felt that it was all wrinkled together, and it was extremely ugly. Jun looked at Chu Yunyao faintly, and a touch of disgust appeared in his eyes. It was just a short moment, and he covered it up again. Chapter 3868. Although Jun's expression was hidden very quickly, Bailey Hongzhuang and others did not miss it. They were also amused in their hearts. Presumably, the existence of Chu Yunyao made Jun feel very disgusted. Otherwise, she would not show such an expression. This Chu Yunyao is really powerful. My future brother-in-law has already hated her to this extent. I think if it weren't for Chu Yunshang, Jun would have pretended not to be here today. When Xiren's lips evoked a sarcastic smile, whispering in Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun looked at each other, and there was a smile in their eyes. With Chu Yunyao's character, there should be very few people who can like her. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Although liking a person often starts from the appearance, after getting along for a long time, one would know what kind of person Chu Yunyao was. Otherwise, she and Chu Yunshang had the same appearance, but Chu Yunshang had already found a sweetheart, but she never had. Maybe it's because her character is too annoying, so no one likes her at all. At that time, Duan Huali could have feelings for her, which made her feel so surprised that she can't forget it now. Shangguan Yingying shrugged. Listening to Shangguan Yingying's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and others couldn't help but give a thumbs up. It's really a good idea. You hit the nail on the head and directly exposed the truth. Okay. Jun lightly responded to Chu Yunyao's words. Suddenly, the pride on Chu Yunyao's face was even more obvious. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're going to die. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yunyao indifferently. Her chin was slightly raised, and the corners of her lips evoked a playful arc. Chu Yunyao, you really don't know yourself. Can't you see that your future brother-in-law has already disliked you to the extreme? It's not easy for your sister to have a sister like you, and it's even more difficult for your brother-in-law. Shangguan Yingying made fun of her. As soon as these words came out, the cultivators present all covered their mouths and chuckled. This was also what they were thinking. Jun's expression suddenly became a little unnatural. He felt that his performance just now was not very obvious. But now that Bailey Hongzhuang had exposed his thoughts in public, he was a little embarrassed for a moment. Chu Yunyao was slightly stunned, then chuckled and said, Bailey Hongzhuang, don't talk nonsense. Jun doesn't think so at all. Oh, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. You're really confident. However, even if you think this way, he might not think the same way. Perhaps he feels that it is better for me to take your life earlier. After all, having a burden like you is really disgusting. He wants to be with my sister, so he naturally has to take care of me. This is what he should do. Don't sow discord there. Chu Yunyao said coldly, no matter what you say now, you will die in my hands later. Jun, you have to think about it. If you want to be with Chu Yunshang, you must take Chu Yunyao as a burden with you. Shangguan Yingying suddenly said, looking at Jun playfully. How about this? You take Chu Yunshang away directly, and we will pretend that nothing happened between us. As for Chu Yunyao, this burden, we will help you solve it directly and save you trouble in the future. Chapter 3869. Chu Yunshang looked up and saw Jun's hesitant expression, and her face suddenly became ugly. In fact, She always knew that He Yunjun didn't have a good impression of Chu Yunyao. If it weren't for her sake, He Yunjun wouldn't even bother to take care of Chu Yunyao. The things that Chu Yunyao had made several times before had already made He Yunjun feel very troublesome. This time, He Yunjun even invited Niu Zhuang. Although she was very happy before, at this moment, she came back to her senses and knew that He Yunjun had paid a certain price to invite Niu Zhuang. In the end, she didn't manage her sister well. If she could manage Chu Yunyao and let her restrain her temper, then things would not have become like this. Yunjun. Chu Yunshang couldn't help calling out. Listening to Chu Yunshang's words, He Yunjun recovered from his thoughts. If possible, he really hoped that everything would be as Shangwan Yingying said, but unfortunately, Chu Yunshang was here now and under the watchful eyes of the public. Even if he wanted to, there was nothing he could do. Lowering his head slightly, He Yunjun noticed the worry in Chu Yunshang's eyes. Yunshang, don't worry. I won't let anything happen to Chu Yunyao. He Yunjun, I think what this little junior sister said is very reasonable. This Chu Yunyao will only cause trouble all day long. You might as well let her fend for herself. In this way, you can save a lot of trouble, Niu Zhuang suddenly said. With the sound of Niu Zhuang's voice falling, the faces of the people present became wonderful. I didn't expect this Niu Zhuang to be a temperamental person. He directly saw through the truth. Chu Jinfeng sneered. Ren Zimei nodded in agreement. Niu Zhuang has such a character. He is not afraid of offending people at all. Fortunately, he is strong enough. Otherwise, with his mouth, I am afraid that he will make many enemies in Penglai Palace. Niu Zhuang, what do you mean by this? Chu Yunyao's face suddenly became a little embarrassed. She didn't expect that the person He Yunjun invited to help would ridicule her, making the people around her laugh at her. It was really hateful. What I mean, Niu Zhuang laughed. Isn't my meaning obvious enough? You should be aware of how much trouble you've caused during this period of time. If He Yunjun has the time to help you deal with these troublesome matters, it would be better for her to cultivate by herself. Perhaps she has already reached my level of cultivation, then there is no need to ask for my help. Niu Zhuang, you've gone too far. Chu Yunyao said angrily, no matter what I do, it's our own family business. There's no need for an outsider like you to interfere. Seeing Chu Yunyao's attitude, Niu Zhuang couldn't help but frown. His voice couldn't help but become cold. If you really don't need me to intervene, then I'll leave. Chu Yunshang's face suddenly changed, and she angrily rebuked. Yunyao, what nonsense are you talking about? Quickly apologized to senior brother Niu. Chu Yunyao's face was full of resentment, but she also knew that she shouldn't have said that just now. Apologize quickly, He Yunjun said with a gloomy face. Senior brother Niu, I'm sorry, Chu Yunyao said slowly. She lowered her head, and her eyes flickered with deep resentment. She didn't know what kind of bad luck she had today, but everyone actually came to mock and ridicule her. She was simply about to die from anger. Chapter 3870. Listening to Chu Yunyao's apology, Niu Zhuang snorted coldly and said, This time, I will let it go for He Yunjuan's sake. Next time, if you dare to say such words to me again, I will not be polite to you. You should know that He Yunjun is your brother-in-law. It's one thing for him to be bullied by you, but I have nothing to do with you. If you dare to talk nonsense to me, then you're courting death. Niu Zhuang's face did not hide his disgust at all. He did not have any good feelings for Chu Yunyao. If it were not for his good relationship with He Yunjun and the conditions offered by He Yunjun that satisfied him, he would not have come today. Listening to Niu Zhuang's fierce words, Chu Yunyao's face suddenly became ugly. She really didn't understand. Niu Zhuang was obviously the helper invited by He Yunjun. Now he even targeted her. He looked like Bailey Hongzhuang's people. It was really hateful. Senior brother Niu, Yunyao has always been like this. Don't be angry with her, Chu Yunshang said softly, her eyes full of fear. It was already very troublesome for them to offend Bailey Hongzhuang. If they offended Niu Zhuang, they would definitely die today. Niu Zhuang looked at Chu Yunshang faintly, and his expression eased a little. You two sisters look exactly the same, but your personalities are completely different. You are much better than your sister." Chu Yunshang smiled awkwardly. She was helpless in her heart, but she could not say anything. However, Chu Yunyao only felt that Niu Zhuang's words were like a slap on her face, which made her feel extremely bad. She asked herself that she did not offend Niu Zhuang, but Niu Zhuang came to find trouble with her. If she could become stronger in the future, she must get back the humiliation today. "Senior brother Niu, today I have to ask you to help me solve these problems." He Yunjun looked serious. Hearing this, Niu Zhuang waved his hand. "Since I promised you, I will help you solve them." "Thank you, senior brother Niu." Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others glanced at Niu Zhuang indifferently. They were not nervous at all. They were just waiting for Niu Zhuang to make his move. Then, they would let him taste the taste of regret. "Bailey Hong Zhuang, I'll give you one more chance. Do you really want to go all the way today?" He Yunjun said coldly. Bailey Hong Zhuang sneered, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. "I must kill Chu Yunyao today. If you must help her, then we can only meet on the battlefield." Seeing this, a complicated look flashed in He Yunjuan's eyes. "If that's the case, then we can only fight it out." In the next moment, He Yunjun drew her weapon and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. When He Yunjun took action, Chu Yunyao also shouted, "He Yunjun, you must kill her." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. The lapis lazuli sword instantly appeared in her hand and met He Yunjuan's attack. "Since junior brother he has already taken action, then I can't delay." Niu Zhuang laughed and immediately locked his eyes on Di Beichen. Facing Niu Zhuang's gaze, Di Beichen's expression was indifferent and indifferent. The flowing light sword also appeared in his hand. His attitude had already made everything clear. "Junior brother Di, I have been entrusted to do my duty. Sorry to offend you." As soon as his voice fell, Niu Zhuang directly stabbed at Di Beichen with his sword. Chapter 3871. Bailey Hongzhuang and He Yunjun instantly clashed, and the aura of the Star Radiance realm was completely exposed. Every time the two of them clashed, the force that shot out was extremely frightening. After the two of them started to exchange blows, the crowd all retreated a certain distance. The ripples of a Star Radiance realm cultivator's battle were not ordinarily strong. If they were too close, once they were affected, it would really be accidental injury. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest to be so unyielding. Senior brother Niu is a Star Radiance realm level 2 cultivator, and they actually dare to exchange blows with him. This courage is really impressive. So what if they have the courage? If their abilities are not enough, won't they still die in the hands of senior brother Niu? From what I see, that might not be the case. Don't forget, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest are the inheritors of the Devil Training Tower. Their battle abilities are definitely very strong, and they might even be able to fight above their level. Everyone's eyes flickered with a curious light. They were extremely curious about the outcome of this battle. After all, both parties' abilities were very strong. A battle between Star Radiance realm cultivators was not something that could be easily seen on a normal day. Today, it could be considered as a feast for their eyes, and they understood just how powerful the battle abilities of Star Radiance realm cultivators were. After He Yunjun exchanged blows with Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt how powerful Bailey Hongzhuang was. Previously, he only heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest's battle abilities were not weak, but he did not have any actual experience. He even thought that there were some elements of it. But now that he had personally exchanged blows with them, he finally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang's ability was really very strong. Logically speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang had just broken through to the Star Radiance realm, and he had already been in the Star Radiance realm for a period of time. But now that they were exchanging blows, his strength was actually not comparable to Bailey Hongzhuang. This was simply too unbelievable. Ding, ding, ding. Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was as fast as lightning. One after another, her attacks were like a torrential rain that mercilessly attacked He Yunjun. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, He Yunjun's response was somewhat inferior. With a slight carelessness, A bloody wound appeared on his body. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally curious about He Yunjuan's strength, but after exchanging blows, she knew that He Yunjun was no match for her. When Bailey Hongzhuang stopped, everyone found that He Yunjun's body had dozens of large and small scars. His clothes were already dyed red with blood, but these wounds were not deep and did not harm his vital organs. The cultivators present were not stupid people. From this point, they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was much stronger than He Yunjuan's. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to take his life, she could have killed him directly just now. Her current appearance was just to tease He Yunjun. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength to be so powerful. She is completely beating He Yunjuan's rhythm. The cultivators present were all stunned. Originally, they were still thinking about who was stronger. Although Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the demon refining pagoda, He Yunjuan's reputation had been around for a long time. But they did not expect that He Yunjun would not be able to resist at all. Yunjun. After seeing He Yunjun like this, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but call out. Her voice was full of worry. He Yunjun raised his hand, indicating Chu Yunshang not to worry, but his eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 3872. With your strength, it's impossible for you to defeat me. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent, and her voice was gentle and fearless. She did not have any thoughts about He Yunjun. If it were not for Chu Yunshang, there would be no interaction between them at all. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's contemptuous words, He Yunjuan's face was a little ugly. He had always boasted that his strength was very outstanding, but he did not expect that he would be defeated by such a young woman today. Moreover, when the two sides fought, he had almost no strength to fight back. Compared to the scars on his body, Bailey Hongzhuang did not suffer the slightest bit of injury, which really gave him a big blow. When Chu Yunyao saw that Bailey Hongzhuang defeated He Yunjun so easily, she could not help but widen her eyes, and her face was full of shock. How could it be? These words kept appearing in Chu Yunyao's mind. He Yunjun had always been an extremely powerful person in her mind, but now he was defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, which also gave her a big blow. Facing Bailey Hongzhuang, He Yunjun did not know what to say for a moment. He could not help but look at Niu Zhuang, who was not far away. He could only pin his hopes on Niu Zhuang. After all, Niu Zhuang's cultivation was higher than his. Bailey Hongzhuang would not be his opponent. As Niu Zhuang's attacked Di Beichun, he found that Di Beichun was young, but there was no panic on his face. This was not an ordinary calmness. However, when Niu Zhuang's attack collided with Di Beichun's attack, he felt the power from his sword. Niu Zhuang's eyes narrowed, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. That was because he found that Di Beichun's strength was not weaker than his. This was impossible. Niu Zhuang immediately had this thought in his mind. Even if Di Beichun had broken through to the Starlight Realm, he was a level 2 Starlight Realm cultivator. Di Beichun and the others were no match for him. What's more, he had been stuck at the second level of the Astral Magnate Realm for a very long time. Among all the cultivators he came into contact with, as long as they were below the second level of the Astral Magnate Realm, none of them were his match. However, Di Beichun's strength was actually able to contend against him. It was truly unbelievable. However, Di Beichun didn't give Niu Zhuang any time to think. He attacked Niu Zhuang without hesitation. When everyone saw that not only was Di Beichun not defeated, but he even dared to take the initiative to attack Niu Zhuang, they could not help but be dumbfounded. It can't be. Di Beichun is actually not defeated by Niu Zhuang? This is too shocking. Could it be that the inheritor of the demon refining tower is actually so abnormal? A level 1 Starlight Realm cultivator can actually deal with a level 2 Starlight Realm cultivator. This is really terrifying. No wonder Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not show the slightest fear when they saw Niu Zhuang coming. It turns out that they were simply confident in dealing with him. Everyone suddenly understood. They looked at Di Beichun with eyes full of admiration and jealousy. Previously, Di Beichun rarely showed off, so they did not pay much attention to him. At this moment, they realized that Bewitching's strength was actually so strong. Chapter 3873. The reason why they had always been wary of Niu Zhuang was not only because he was a rank 2 astral magnate, but also because his attacks were extremely ruthless. It was said that no one below rank 2 could match him. Niu Zhuang was already 40 years old, much older than them. His strength had already stagnated at rank 2 astral magnate for quite a few years. Everyone knew that his potential seemed to have been exhausted. In these few years, he had not improved at all. Many people even thought that he would be stuck at rank 2 astral magnate for the rest of his life. Niu Zhuang obviously knew of this possibility, but he was not discouraged. Instead, he continuously worked hard to raise his battle strength. It was because of this that his battle strength had increased to a terrifying level. As long as it was a cultivator below rank 2 astral magnate, there was no one who could match him. However, Bewitching had only just reached the astral magnate realm. To be able to fight with Niu Zhuang without losing, this was not an ordinary level of strength. Hearing Ren Zimei's words, Ren Ziheng shook his head and said, "Your judgment is wrong. Bewitching is not rank 1 astral magnate, but rank 2 astral magnate." When these words came out, Chu Jinfeng and Ren Zimei could not help but be stunned. They looked at Ren Ziheng in astonishment and raised their voice. "What did you say? Bewitching has already broken through to rank 2 astral magnate?" "That's right." Ren Ziheng nodded seriously. "From the aura he is emitting, he has definitely reached rank 2 astral magnate." "It can't be?" Chu Jinfeng was a little suspicious. How long has it been since Junior Brother D and the rest left? To be able to break through to the astral magnate realm is already very abnormal. He even broke through to rank 2 astral magnate. This is too unbelievable. Geniuses are always different from the rest. Ren Ziheng sighed, but his gaze could not help but fall on Mo Yunjue. At this moment, he could not help but recall what Mo Yunjue had said before. Looks like they really did not care about the rank 2 astral magnate in Niu Zhuang. Junior Brother 1, is Ren Ziheng's judgment correct? Chu Jinfeng asked. When Xiren smiled faintly and nodded, "That's right. My God, do you still want us to live?" Chu Jinfeng smiled bitterly. Back then, their cultivation was stronger than Bewitching and the rest. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, it would be impossible to catch up to Bewitching and the rest? Bewitching and Niu Zhuang fought together. In the process of this fight, he also found that Niu Zhuang's fighting strength was indeed very strong. Compared to the ordinary second-order stellar magnate cultivators, Niu Zhuang's fighting strength could almost compete with third-order stellar magnate cultivators. However, he was also not simple. It would not be easy for Niu Zhuang to defeat him. "I really didn't expect that at such a young age, you would actually break through to the second level of the astral magnate realm." After a few exchanges, Niu Zhuang also realized that Bewitching was not a cultivator who had just broken through to the star realm, but had already reached the second stage of the star realm. Not only that, but Bewitching's battle prowess was even stronger than that of a rank 2 stellar magi cultivator. To have such a cultivation at such an age, his potential was limitless. "Same to you," Bewitching said faintly. However, Niu Zhuang's words stirred up a storm in everyone's hearts. Chapter 3874. At such a young age, he has already broken through to the second level of star radiance. The inheritor of the Demon Tower is indeed worthy of his reputation. Niu Zhuang's gaze towards Bewitching changed a little. In fact, the reason why he chose to fight today was partly because he was curious about how strong the inheritor of the Demon Tower was. After this fight, he also understood the gap between them. He had just broken through to this level and could have such a fighting strength. It was really amazing. He and Jun had always hoped that Niu Zhuang could defeat Bewitching and then come and help him. However, at this moment, after hearing Niu Zhuang say that Bewitching was also at the second level of star radiance, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Second level of star radiance? Di Beichun is also a cultivator at the second level of star radiance? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly and said, "Only your friends are allowed to break through to the second level of star radiance, and we're not allowed to break through to the second level of star radiance. How did you break through so quickly?" He and June found it hard to believe. "We naturally have our own methods. There is no need to tell you." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled coldly, and then locked his eyes on Chu Yunyao. "Chu Yunyao, you will definitely die today. Take advantage of the current situation to take a good look at the scene in front of you. In the future, you can only stay in hell." Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao were also dumbfounded at this moment. Their minds were unable to turn around for a moment. They had clearly turned the situation around before. How did it return to the initial situation now? "Yunjun, what should we do?" Chu Yunshang couldn't help but look at He Yunjun, a thick panic on his face. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were really too strong. If they said that they didn't have any helpers, sooner or later they would lose to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. He Yunjun was also confused at this moment. His deep eyes were filled with a complicated light. He had always thought that after inviting Niu Zhuang, they had already won. He didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were so abnormal, completely destroying his plan. "He and Jun, you go and find some more helpers." Chu Yunyao said, "With your ability, you can definitely find some stronger helpers. As long as they come, you can kill Bailey Hongzhuang." Seeing that Chu Yunyao still wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang at this time and didn't know the seriousness of the situation, the disgust in He Yunjuan's eyes became stronger. "Chu Yunyao, don't dream. There are only a few cultivators above the Starlight Realm in the Penglai Inner Palace. Where am I going to find so many people to help me? The current situation is entirely because of you, yet you don't even have the slightest bit of shame." Listening to He Yunjuan's accusation, Chu Yunyao couldn't help but be stunned, and then her face was filled with anger. She had already been humiliated again and again today, and now even He Yunjun had come to humiliate her. "It's unreasonable," He Yunjun said angrily. "If I didn't have feelings for your sister, I wouldn't care about your life and death at all." Bailey Hongzhuang saw the conflict between He Yunjun and Chu Yunyao. She was not in a hurry to take action. She just watched them bite each other. It was very interesting. Chapter 3875. With Bailey Hongzhuang's voice falling, He Yunjun and Chu Yunshang were both stunned. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would make such a condition. He Yunjuan's eyes flashed with a touch of hesitation, and he couldn't help but turn to Niu Zhuang, who was fighting with Di Beichun not far away. If Niu Zhuang could defeat Di Beichun, then they might still have a chance, but if Niu Zhuang couldn't win, then everything would be decided by Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Judging from the posture of Bailey Hongzhuang and others, it was obvious that they wouldn't stop until they killed Chu Yunyao. If he didn't agree, not only would Chu Yunyao die, but they would also have to accompany Chu Yunyao to die here. This was obviously what he didn't want to see. Dying for Chu Yunyao was definitely something he couldn't accept. However, at present, they still had a glimmer of hope. If Niu Zhuang could defeat Di Beichun, then they could still turn defeat into victory and not fall into such a situation. After seeing He Yunjuan's hesitation, Chu Yunshang's face suddenly became ugly. "Yunjun." He Yunjun turned his head and glanced at Chu Yunshang. "Yunshang, if it really comes to that point." Although he didn't finish his words, He Yunjuan's attitude had already made everyone understand. If it really came to that point, then he would definitely give up Chu Yunyao. It was a stupid move to give up his life for such a woman. Listening to He Yunjuan's words, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but take 2 steps back, and her pretty face turned pale. Even though Chu Yunyao had always been very excessive, she was still her sister. She had never thought that there would be such a day. After Chu Yunyao heard He Yunjun say such words, her face suddenly filled with disbelief. "He Yunjun, you really dare to do this to me?" He Yunjun glanced at Chu Yunyao and didn't say anything. He couldn't help but turn to Niu Zhuang. If Niu Zhuang could win, he didn't want to do this. After all, He knew Chu Yunyao's position in Chu Yunshang's heart. After exchanging blows with Di Beichen, Niu Zhuang was shocked to discover that Di Beichen's strength was extremely powerful. Compared to him, who was stuck at the second level of astral radiance, Di Beichen was not the slightest bit weaker. On the contrary, Di Beichen was even stronger. "You're no match for me." Di Beichen's eyes were calm and indifferent after the first strike. Niu Zhuang was slightly taken aback. He looked at Di Beichen in surprise. "Although I can't defeat you now, you are too confident. I haven't used my full strength yet. You should be aware of that," Di Beichen said slowly. Hearing this, Niu Zhuang took a deep look at Di Beichen. After thinking for a moment, a smile appeared on his face. "Sure enough, heroes come from the young. I really am no match for you." He was not a stupid person and immediately understood the meaning of Di Beichen's words. Thinking about it, Di Beichen had already seen that he had used his full strength just now. On the contrary, Di Beichen had only used a part of his strength. Therefore, even if it was just a fight, he already knew the final result. After seeing Niu Zhuang admit that he was not as good as Di Beichen, everyone present showed a look of astonishment. "My God, did I hear it wrong?" Niu Zhuang actually admitted that he is not a match for Di Beichen in public. "You didn't hear it wrong, because I heard it too." Chapter 3876. One after another, astonished gazes fell on Di Beichen. Everyone was in disbelief. Di Beichen's breakthrough to the Starlight Realm was already very surprising. Now, even Niu Zhuang was no match for him. This meant that no one below the second level of the Starlight Realm could be a match for Di Beichen. This was really not an ordinary level of strength. Everyone was thinking about it. In the future, they definitely could not offend Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. With their strength, if they offended them, they would really be asking for trouble. "Junior brother Di, I really admire you." Niu Zhuang looked at Di Beichen with eyes full of admiration. All along, there were very few cultivators who could make him admire Di Beichen, but this Di Beichen was one of them. To be able to have such strength at such a young age was really admirable. Moreover, during the fight, Di Beichen clearly had the opportunity to injure him, but did not directly injure him. He had already accepted this kindness. Just this magnanimity alone was not easy. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would definitely not be merciful in this situation. However, Di Beichen's actions were undoubtedly to preserve his face. If he still did not understand, then he would be too stupid. "Today, let's not fight, no concord. How about we be friends from now on?" Niu Zhuang's face revealed a smile as he said. He and Yunjun were only acquaintances and did not have a deep friendship. However, he really thought highly of Di Beichen and the others. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was such a famous doctor. In fact, he did not want to deal with him at first. However, Yunjun deliberately asked for his help, and the conditions she offered were very good. Therefore, he came to take a look. After Niu Zhuang said these words, everyone's eyes gathered on him. Wasn't this development a little too dramatic? Niu Zhuang was the helper invited by Yunjun. Now, he actually appreciated Di Beichen and wanted to be friends with Di Beichen. In this way, didn't it mean that Niu Zhuang was bought over by them? Seeing Niu Zhuang say such words, Di Beichen's eyes quietly flashed with a hint of surprise. Then he chuckled and nodded. That's great. He thought that with Niu Zhuang's status in the Penglai Inner Palace, he would definitely not admit defeat easily. However, he did not expect that he would directly admit that he was not his opponent. Moreover, he did not show any displeasure. He even proposed to be friends with him. Recalling what Niu Zhuang and Chu Yunyao had said before, he knew that Niu Zhuang was a person who spoke his mind and did not beat around the bush. Therefore, when he said that he wanted to be friends with him, it must be from the bottom of his heart, and he did not have any other thoughts. In this inner palace, he did not want to offend too many opponents. If he could make some friends, it would be great. After all, they would have to train in the future. More friends would be more help. If they had more enemies, it would be very troublesome to deal with them in the future. What's more, cultivators above the Starry Sky realm were very rare. Their status in the inner palace was very important. If they killed the Starry Sky Realm cultivators, it would be a great loss to the Penglai Palace. Presumably, Master Long and the others did not want to see it. If it was an enemy, it would be fine. However, since this was a conflict that could be resolved, it was better to resolve it. It would be good for them. Listening to Di Beichen's words, Niu Zhuang also laughed heartily. Haha, that's great. Chapter 3877. The development of this matter is really beyond my expectations. I didn't expect Beichen to have such an ability to make Niu Zhuang appreciate him so much. There is no need to fight. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Wen Xiren beside her. Her pretty face was full of helplessness and emotion. It could be considered the most dramatic fight since they came to Penglai Palace. Xiren nodded, his eyes shining brightly. This Niu Zhuang seems to be reckless, but he is very smart. He should be very clear that he is not Beichen's opponent. In such a case, if he continues to fight head-on, it will not do him any good. However, his appreciation for Beichen should also be real. It can be said that no discord, no friendship, is good for us to make a friend. Look, Chu Yinyao's face is as black as the bottom of a pot. Ren Zimei suddenly chuckled. Shangguan Yingying and others couldn't help but look at Chu Yinyao. They saw that Chu Yinyao's face was gloomy and no longer had the previous arrogance. Her eyes flashed with a strong fear. It seemed that it was hard to imagine what would happen next. After seeing that Niu Zhuang had become friends with Di Beichen, He Yunjun couldn't help but be stunned. This result was simply a dramatic reversal. After Bailey Hongzhuang noticed this scene, the smile on her lips widened a little. She retracted her gaze and looked at He Yunjun. Have you thought about it? He Yunjun thought for a moment, and a hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes. He looked at Chu Yunshang and said, Yunshang, let's agree. There was a hint of helplessness in his low voice. He never cared about Chu Yunyao. The only thing he cared about was Chu Yunshang's thoughts. He Yunjun, you are too much. Chu Yunyao's face showed a strong sense of indignation. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she looked at He Yunjun with hatred. How can you do this? Facing the angry Chu Yunyao, He Yunjun didn't care at all. Over the years, you have caused a lot of trouble. I have helped you clean up the mess every time. I have already done my best. You provoked an opponent that you shouldn't have provoked and suffered the consequences of your own actions. Don't tell me you want me to die with you? He Yunjuan's eyes were full of coldness. Originally, he was still a little worried about Chu Yunyao, but after Chu Yunyao said those words to him, he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. At this moment, she didn't want to care about Chu Yunyao's life or death. You. Chu Yunyao looked at He Yunjun angrily. After opening her mouth to say this word, she really didn't know what to say. She understood that no matter how good a friend was, they would reveal their selfish side in this kind of life and death situation. However, she still found it hard to accept how He Yunjun treated her. Sister, let's ignore him. He's not sincere to you at all. Chu Yunyao looked at Chu Yunshang. Yunshang, haven't you done enough for her all these years? She never knew how to be grateful. She only knew how to take things from you. What's the use of having such a sister? I'm the only one who knows about your hardships. Why don't you solve this problem now? Your life will be much easier in the future. He Yunjun looked at Chu Yunshang. He really liked Chu Yunshang and did not want Chu Yunshang to be buried with Chu Yunyao. Chapter 3878. He Yunjun, that's enough. Chu Yunyao shouted, holding Chu Yunshang tightly with both hands. Sister, don't listen to his nonsense. Think of a way. I don't want to die. Chu Yunyao looked at Chu Yunshang nervously. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. Now she had no choice but to pin all her hopes on Chu Yunshang. Bailey Hongzhuang obviously wanted to take her life. She didn't want to die like this today. At this moment, she finally knew fear. Chu Yunshang looked at Chu Yunyao beside her with a complicated expression. She never thought that one day she would have to make such a choice. He Yunjun had no other way, so he naturally didn't need to say more. If you don't agree, he can only die here with Chu Yunyao. If you agree, Chu Yunyao will also die. but it's also hard for him to bear watching his sister die in front of him. Yunshang, at this time, she still wants you to die with her. Haven't you seen through her yet? He Yunjun said helplessly. The cultivators present all spoke out together. Chu Yunshang really has some feelings for her sister, but Chu Yunyao obviously doesn't have such an idea. Chu Yunyao is obviously a dead end. At this time, she still wants to use Chu Yunshang as a cushion. This sister is really amazing. With Chu Yunyao's temperament, it's not surprising that she would do such a thing. Haven't we seen it before? Looking at this scene, Chu Yunyao had become a dead person in the hearts of everyone. If no other heavyweight appeared, Chu Yunyao's ending today would definitely not be changed. When Chu Yunyao saw the hesitation on Chu Yunshang's face, she couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Her face was pale and weak, and her words should be trembling. Sister, are you really going to watch me die like this? Chu Yunshang looked helpless. Yu Yunyao, I won't watch you die like this. Then think away. Chu Yunyao quickly said. As matters stand, there's nothing I can do. Chu Yunshang spread out her hands. With her current strength, she was no match for Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She couldn't even beat Bailey Hongzhuang, let alone Di Beichun. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yunshang and the others. It seems that you have made your decision. At this time, He Yunjun hurriedly said, We promise you to leave Chu Yunyao behind. As He Yunjuan's voice fell, Chu Yunyao couldn't help but say angrily, He Yunjun, it's fine if you're like this, but why are you bringing my sister along? Things have already come to this point. Since you are definitely going to die, why ask your sister to bring you along? Why don't you give your sister a way out? With that, He Yunjun directly held Chu Yunshang's hand. His face was firm, and his voice was steady and powerful. Yunshang, don't think about it. Things have come to this point. You can't change the outcome. It's better to leave your life and live well. Hearing this, Chu Yunshang was very helpless. She looked at herself and Bailey Hongzhuang and others. She didn't speak, but she also acquiesced. Chapter 38-79. In the face of Chu Yunyao's questioning, Chu Yunshang couldn't bear it. She never thought that there would be such a day, let alone answer Chu Yunyao's words. Thinking of this, Chu Yunshang wanted to approach Chu Yunyao, but was held tightly by He Yunjun. She looked at He Yunjun, only to see the latter shaking her head at her. Seeing this, even if Chu Yunshang couldn't bear it in her heart, she could only helplessly lower her head. Chu Yunyao also noticed He Yunjuan's actions, and the hatred in her eyes grew stronger. She didn't expect that at this time, Chu Yunshang and others not only didn't help her, but also chose to stand by. This situation made her feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar, and there was an unspeakable fear in her heart. She didn't want to die. After seeing He Yunjuan's choice, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile also rose a little. It seems that you have made a choice. He Yunjun bowed to Bailey Hongzhuang. Junior sister Bailey Hongzhuang, we won't care about Chu Yunyao's affairs anymore. You can spare us, and we are grateful for your magnanimity. Even though he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang did this just to better ridicule Chu Yunyao and let Chu Yunyao experience the feeling of being betrayed, no matter what, Bailey Hongzhuang still let them go. Otherwise, as long as Bailey Hongzhuang wanted them to die, they would have no way to get away. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at He Yunjun with a little surprise. She had always thought that He Yunjun was Chu Yunshang's lover, and she didn't know anything else. After seeing He Yunjun today, she didn't have a good impression of him. After all, they were all enemies. However, this person would thank her after losing face, which was beyond her expectation. It seemed that this person was also a person who could endure humiliation. However, anyone who possessed such a trait would have great achievements. It was no wonder that they were able to reach their current level. Senior apprentice brother you're being too courteous. No discord, no concord. There's no deep hatred between us. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Every injustice had its perpetrator and every debt its debtor. As long as He Yunjun did not interfere in their matters, she would not care. What's more, judging from this situation, He Yunjun might be very grateful to him for helping to solve Chu Yunyao's problem. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's answer, He Yinjun also breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Bailey Hong Zhuang, she couldn't help but feel grateful and appreciative. He did not expect Bailey Hong Zhuang to be so magnanimous. However, he was also worried that Bailey Hong Zhuang would resent them for interfering in this matter. After all, Bailey Hong Zhuang's group was too strong. If the other party held a grudge against them, then they would only have a dead end. It hadn't been long since he broke through to the First Order, and there was still a long way to go to the Second Order. It was impossible to defeat Bewitching in a short period of time. However, now that Bailey Hong Zhuang really intended to let them go, they didn't have to worry. Bailey Hong Zhuang turned her head to look at Shangguan Yingying behind her. Yingying, this Chu Yunyao is yours to deal with. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Shangguan Yingying's face. She immediately took a step forward with a playful look on her face. I have full authority to deal with her. Chapter 3880. Xiran also looked at Shangguan Yingying dotingly. Shangguan Yingying had been treated like that by Chu Yunyao before. This time, they came to let Shangguan Yingying vent her anger. Now that he saw Chu Yunyao's betrayal, when Xiran felt that it was still not enough. This woman had asked for it. Shangguan Yingying walked to Chu Yunyao with a smile. Looking at the latter's face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot, she chuckled and said, Chu Yunyao, when you kidnapped me last time, you didn't expect that there would be a day like this, did you? Shangguan Yingying, don't be complacent. I should have killed you directly at that time. Chu Yunyao's eyes were gloomy. It was really a mistake that led to everlasting regret. At that time, Shangguan Yingying was just a little grasshopper that she could pinch to death at will. Now, she could control her life and death. She hated it very much. If she had known it, she should have been more decisive. Why should she worry about Master Long's opinion? It was best to rush over and kill Shangguan Yingying directly. It's a pity that you didn't do it that time. It's useless to say this now. Shangguan Yingying raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, Now that you have fallen into my hands, there is only one way out. I won't make the same mistake as you. With that, Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Since she was born, she had never been treated like that. Now, thinking of all the torture that Chu Yunyao had done to her at that time, she also gnashed her teeth. Slap! Shangguan Yingying slapped Chu Yunyao's face loudly. She deeply remembered that every time she said a word, Chu Yunyao would slap her in the face. At that time, she secretly swore that as long as she was still alive, she would definitely return this to Chu Yunyao in double. You! Suddenly slapped by Shangguan Yingying, Chu Yunyao couldn't help glaring at her. However, as soon as she said a word, she was stared back by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Now she was surrounded by Bailey Hong Zhuang and others. There was no possibility of leaving. If she dared to do anything, she would die immediately. When she thought of this, she could only force herself to hold it in. Her mind was constantly thinking of a way to leave. Pa! Shangguan Yingying mercilessly slapped her again. Chu Yunyao, you must have felt like this when you slapped me, right? Shangguan Yingying's pitch-black eyes flashed with a cold light. Her voice was cold and emotionless. Now, I will return everything to you so that you can properly experience this feeling. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Seeing this person appear, Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. Speaking of which, the reason why this matter had become like this was all because of this person. Duan Huali. When Chu Yunyao saw Duan Huali appear, her eyes instantly lit up with joy. He and Jun and the others also looked at Duan Huali. The reason why Chu Yunyao would find trouble with Bailey Hong Zhuang was entirely because of him. Duan Huali just heard that there was a conflict between Bailey Hong Zhuang and Chu Yunyao, so he wanted to come and have a look. After all, he was also at the scene when there was a conflict in the resource hall last time. It was not until he arrived that he realized that this conflict had erupted so fiercely that it was completely beyond his imagination. Chapter 3881. Hearing this, Duan Huali looked at Chu Yunyao and saw that Chu Yunyao no longer had her usual arrogant appearance. Her face was completely swollen like a pig's head, and blood was still flowing from the corners of her lips. She couldn't even speak clearly. On the other side, He Yunjun was holding Chu Yunshang's hand. Obviously, she ignored Chu Yunyao's appearance, which made him a little unbelievable. According to his understanding, Chu Yunshang had always been very good to Chu Yunyao. If not, she would not have made such a choice at the beginning. But now she ignored Chu Yunyao. Could it be that after such a long time, she finally figured it out? Chu Yunyao climbed to Duan Huali's side and pulled Duan Huali's trousers tightly with both hands. Duan Huali, you must save me. They don't care about me. If you don't save me, I will die today. Duan Huali frowned. Since the last time he heard that Bailey Hongzhuang and others had a conflict with Chu Yunyao before leaving Penglai Palace, he knew that Chu Yunyao must have gone to trouble Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Over the years, Chu Yunyao had done this kind of thing a lot. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang was fine, so he didn't take it to heart. It was just that he didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and some people would be so powerful. As soon as they came back, they tortured Chu Yunyao to such a situation. It was reasonable to say that He Yunjuan's strength had already reached the first stage of star aura. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others should not be his opponents at all. Was it possible that He Yunjun hated Chu Yunyao, so he was unwilling to help? However, if this was the case, Chu Yunshang would not ignore Chu Yunyao. For a time, Duan Huali's mood was also very complicated. He couldn't understand the situation in front of him. Bailey Hongzhuang and others looked at Duan Huali coldly. They didn't have a good impression of this person. In the end, the reason why Shangguan Yingying was treated like this was entirely because of Duan Huali. Di Beichen's eyes turned cold when he saw Duan Huali. He clearly remembered how Duan Huali had provoked him when he had tried to attract Bailey Hongzhuang's attention. He remembered clearly how Duan Huali had looked down on him. Showing such an expression in front of his wife was already a great insult to him. Back then, because he wasn't strong enough, he could only endure it for the time being. But now everything was different from back then. Yunshang, Duan Huali couldn't help but ask. However, before Chu Yunshang could speak, He Yunjuan's voice rang out first. Junior brother Duan, Yunshang isn't that familiar with you. You should call her junior sister Chu. Hearing this, Duan Huali was stunned and looked a little embarrassed. Duan Huali, you don't have to pay attention to them. He Yunjun is completely a despicable and shameless villain. He actually persuaded my sister to leave me alone. My sister is also obsessed and actually agreed to him. Chu Yunyao said and looked at Chu Yunshang fiercely. Chu Yunshang, from today onwards, we're no longer friends. From now on, you're no longer my sister. Yunyao. Chu Yunshang's expression was complicated, and her mind was also full of thoughts. She did not know if Duan Huali would join them. Would it be possible to defeat Bailey Hongzhuang and the others? Chapter 3882. Although Duan Huali didn't have a complete understanding of this matter, he had a rough idea. With Chu Yunshang's temperament, she would not ignore Chu Yunyao unless she had no choice. In this way, there was only one explanation. Junior sister Bailey, I don't know if you can spare Chu Yunyao this time for my sake. Duan Huali couldn't help but ask. Listening to Duan Huali's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips evoked a playful arc, and she sneered, "Why should I give you face?" As soon as this remark came out, Duan Huali couldn't help but be stunned, and his expression was a little embarrassed. Bailey Hongzhuang's rhetorical question was tantamount to giving him face. For the sake of my previous friendship with you, you should be magnanimous and let her go this time. Duan Huali continued. When Chu Yunshang saw that Duan Huali was willing to speak for her at this time, she couldn't help but be moved, and her eyes became more and more affectionate. She knew that Duan Huali couldn't have no feelings for her at all. That's where you're wrong. We've never been friends before. Bailey Hongzhuang stretched out a finger and shook it. This is all because of you. If it weren't for you, how could Chu Yunyao take Yingying away? Yingying wouldn't be tortured by Chu Yunyao. Now you want me to let Chu Yunyao go? Instead of pleading for Chu Yunyao now, you might as well think about how to plead for yourself. Duan Huali's face suddenly became ugly. Being refuted by Bailey Hongzhuang again and again, he naturally lost face. What? What? Does junior sister Bailey want to do something to me? At this moment, Di Beichen stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and looked at Duan Huali coldly. I'm the one who wants to hurt you. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali was slightly stunned. Then he chuckled and said, Junior brother Di seems to have a lot of opinions about me. You're wrong, Di Beichen said slowly. Oh, Duan Huali was a little surprised. Does junior brother Di not have anything against me? No. Di Beichen's eyes were cold. I don't have a problem with you. I want to kill you. Di Beichen's lips curled into a cold arc as he looked at Duan Huali with a smile that was not a smile. Everyone wanted to kill Chu Yunyao as soon as they came back. And for him, the one he wanted to kill the most was Duan Huali. This guy dared to flirt with his most beloved woman in front of him. He had already vowed to kill this guy. As soon as these words came out, everyone sighed and their faces were filled with surprise. Di Beichen is too domineering. He said that he wanted to kill Duan Huali as soon as he opened his mouth. It's really surprising. In fact, this is not surprising. As early as a few months ago, Di Beichen said at the transmission array that he would be rude to Duan Huali. Now, this is also expected. Duan Huali is a womanizer. Bailey Hongzhuang is so beautiful. It's impossible for Duan Huali not to have any thoughts about her. Didn't this offend Di Beichen? After hearing these words, Chu Yunyao and Chu Yunshang's faces suddenly changed a little. Duan Huali was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he chuckled and said, Junior brother Di, your tone is a little too big. Whether it's big or not, let's see. Chapter 3883. He originally wanted to deal with Duan Huali after dealing with Chu Yunyao. Since Duan Huali was already here, he might as well deal with him together and save himself the trouble of looking for him in the future. When Duan Huali discovered that Di Beichen had already reached the second order of Star Magnate, his face could not help but flash with a thick shock. Suddenly, he looked at Chu Yunshang with a hint of understanding. It turned out that it was not that Yunjun was unwilling to save Chu Yunyao, but that he was not Di Beichen's opponent and could not help. Di Beichen's fist rapidly enlarged in Duan Huali's eyes, mixed with a fierce chi, directly blasting the air and attacking him. Duan Huali understood that Di Beichen was not joking. He really wanted to take his life. However, his movements were not fast. When Di Beichen's fist was about to reach him, he also met it with a punch. Bang! The chi scattered. Duan Huali's face changed a little, and then his figure took 2 steps back. According to his judgment, Di Beichen had just broken through the second order of Star Magnate. He should not be his opponent, so he dealt with it very calmly. However, he did not expect Di Beichen's punch to be able to force him to retreat. How could this be? A storm raged in Duan Huali's heart. This level of strength was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. Thinking back to the beginning, Di Beichen was just a grasshopper that could be pinched to death at will in his eyes. It was just that he wanted to get Bailey Hongzhuang's heart, so he did not plan to make a move himself. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang and others were deeply valued by Master Long. He was also unwilling to offend Master Long. It was a pity that the people he sent did not succeed. Instead, it gave Di Beichen a chance to grow. Your strength. How did it become so strong? Looking at Duan Huali's surprised expression, Di Beichen ignored it. Why should I tell you? As soon as he finished speaking, Di Beichen launched another attack. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the 2 people who were fighting. She understood Di Beichen's hatred for Duan Huali. Previously, she had been asking Di Beichen to endure. Now, she finally had the chance to take revenge. Revenge was a dish best served cold. Fortunately, they did not have to wait for too long. Now, they could finally hold their heads high. Bang, bang, bang. The first exchange between Di Beichen and Duan Huali was the most powerful collision yet. The terrifying killing intent that leaked out from Bewitching's body clearly indicated that he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take Duan Huali's life. She continued to explode. The two people's movements were as fast as lightning. As they entangled with each other, the crowd was dazzled. It seems that Junior Brother D wants to take revenge this time. Chu Jinfeng raised his eyebrows slightly, a look of interest flashing in his eyes. As for the grievances between Di Beichun and Duan Huali, it could be said that he was very clear about it. Who let Duan Huali, this guy, take liberties with other people's wives? Any man with a bit of backbone would not be able to swallow this. I admire men like Junior Brother D. Ren Zimei's eyes flashed with joy. Duan Huali should be taught a lesson. Ren Ziheng, between Junior Brother D and Duan Huali, who do you think has a higher chance of winning? Chu Jinfeng could not help but ask. Although Di Beichun had broken through to level 2, Duan Huali was also a very famous expert. Chapter 3884. Beichun will definitely win. At this moment, a cold but firm voice rang out. Ren Ziheng and the others couldn't help but look at the source of the voice, only to find that it was Mo Yunjue not far away. The three of them couldn't help but look at each other. Although today was the first time they met Mo Yunjue, they could feel that his strength was very tyrannical, and he was extremely cold. His whole body exuded a kind of aura that didn't allow strangers to approach him. Therefore, even if they were quite familiar with Di Beichun and the others, there was a certain distance between them and Mo Yunjue. Junior Brother Mo, how can you be so sure? Chu Jinfeng thought for a moment and asked. At the same time, he wanted to test whether Mo Yunjue was an extremely difficult person to get along with. Mo Yunjue's gaze fell on Di Beichun in front of him and slowly said, if this Duan Huali's strength is higher than Beichun's, then there may be a chance of winning. But since their cultivation is the same, Duan Huali is definitely not Beichun's opponent. As soon as these words came out, Ren Ziheng and the others were surprised. Mo Yunjue's words were very domineering, as if he had extreme confidence in Di Beichun's strength. Ziren also couldn't help but look at Mo Yunjue. It seemed that Di Beichun was right. Although Mo Yunjue and he were originally rivals, Mo Yunjue was a very magnanimous gentleman, not a sinister villain. He Yunjun, Chu Yunshang, and Chu Yunyao's eyes all focused on Duan Huali, but the three of them had different thoughts. Because of the past between Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang, He Yunjun didn't have any good impression of Duan Huali. Although they didn't fight on normal days, they still looked at each other with disgust. Moreover, this matter was entirely caused by Duan Huali, and he loathed this person's style to a certain extent. Chu Yinyao looked at Duan Huali with a face full of hope. Her whole mental appearance had become completely different from before. Now, in her eyes, Duan Huali was a hero who had come to save her. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Shangguan Yingying and said, Yingying, Beichun will take care of Duan Huali. You don't have to worry. You just need to vent your anger. Duan Huali was only a level 2 astral radiance cultivator. With their current strength, Duan Huali could not do anything. As long as Di Beichun made a move, Duan Huali would have no chance of winning. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Shangguan Yingying smiled and nodded. She naturally understood Di Beichun's strength. Okay. Chu Yinyao saw that Shangguan Yingying wanted to attack her again, and quickly said, Shangguan Yingying, Duan Huali has come to save me. If you dare to attack me again, I won't let you go. In your dreams. Shangguan Yingying kicked Chu Yinyao directly. Do you still want to leave? That's impossible. Speaking of this, Shangguan Yingying suddenly chuckled. Chu Yinyao, don't say that I'm not good enough for you. Haven't you always liked Duan Huali? Today, I'll let you both go to the Yellow Springs. When you go to the underworld, you could be companions. This can be considered as fulfilling one of your wishes. You. Chu Yunyao's eyes burned with anger, and the Yuan energy in her body gushed out instantly. Even if I want to die, I will never let you live. Chapter 3885. Shangwan Yingying obviously didn't expect that Chu Yunyao would suddenly fight back and couldn't react for a moment. Be careful, when Xiren hurriedly called out and immediately wanted to rush to Shangwan Yingying's side. Unfortunately, there was a certain distance between them and it was too late for him to do so. Chu Yunyao's eyes flashed with excitement and pride. Although she was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent now, as long as she killed Shangwan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would definitely be in incomparable pain. Then she would be able to vent her anger. However, just as Chu Yunyao's attack was about to land on Shangwan Yingying, Bailey Hongzhuang's fist directly hit Chu Yunyao's body. Bang! With a sound, Chu Yunyao's figure flew out and landed heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Chu Yunyao fell to the ground. Just as she wanted to get up, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show any mercy in that palm strike just now. Chu Yunyao was naturally seriously injured by the full strength of a first-rank starlight. Yingying, are you okay? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with concern. Shangwan Yingying shook her head. You acted in time. I'm fine. When Xiren also ran to Shangwan Yingying's side. After seeing that Shangwan Yingying was safe, he was completely relieved. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her gaze to Chu Yunyao and slowly walked to her side. Chu Yunyao, I didn't expect you to have the courage to fight back. Chu Yunyao smiled coldly, her lips and teeth full of blood. You acted quickly just now, otherwise I would have killed Shangwan Yingying. Looking at Chu Yunyao's proud appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with coldness. Chu Yunyao, looking at your proud appearance, I really feel that it's a bit of an eyesore. Hee hee. Chu Yunyao chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang, everything is not over yet. You don't have to make a conclusion too early. Maybe the one who dies in the end is you, not me. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Unfortunately, I won't give you that chance. As soon as these words came out, Chu Yunyao could not help but be stunned. Before she could react, Bailey Hongzhuang punched her dantian. Bang! Another voice sounded. Then, everyone was shocked to find that Chu Yunyao's entire body suddenly deflated like a balloon. Chu Yunyao's face suddenly showed an extremely painful expression. She couldn't control her body and knelt down directly. Her face became extremely pale, and cold sweat oozed out uncontrollably. She clutched her dantian in agony and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. You actually destroyed my cultivation? I asked you to be obedient. If you don't want to, then I can only destroy your cultivation to make you obedient. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands were around her chest, and her delicate face was full of indifference. Yunyao, Chu Yunshang couldn't help but call out after seeing that Chu Yunyao's cultivation had been destroyed. However, Chu Yunyao just glanced at her coldly. I've become like this now. Are you happy? The cultivators present couldn't help but gasp when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had destroyed Chu Yunyao's cultivation. Chapter 3886. Chu Yunyao's face was ashen, and her eyes were filled with tears. Once she lost her cultivation, she would become a complete waste. For so many years, she had always been proud of her cultivation. She had never thought that one day her cultivation would be destroyed. Instead of that, she really felt that it was better to die like this. What was the point of living for a waste? For Chu Yunyao's strong despair, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were extremely cold. You can't live if you want to. If Chu Yunyao hadn't caused trouble herself, how could she have fallen to this point? Since she dared to do such a thing at the beginning, she should be prepared to bear all this now. Yingying, she can't hurt you anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Shangwan Yingying was also surprised that Bailey Hongzhuang acted so neatly. However, Chu Yunyao had humiliated her many times before because she was strong enough. Now that she had lost her cultivation, she felt very happy. Unrighteous deeds are doomed to destruction. Serves you right for ending up like this. Shangwan Yingying looked at Chu Yunyao coldly. If it hadn't been for Bailey Hongzhuang's speed, she might have been seriously injured by Chu Yunyao now. Thinking of this, she felt a burst of displeasure and immediately stepped on Chu Yunyao's body again. Puff! Chu Yunyao spat out another mouthful of blood. Her injury was very serious. In addition, Bailey Hongzhuang destroyed her cultivation. Her body had already been weak to a certain extent. At this moment, she was only kicked by Shangguan Yingying, but she couldn't bear it. "You're arrogant." Shangguan Yingying's eyes were cold. "Let's see how you can be arrogant now." After seeing Chu Yunyao being humiliated like this, Chu Yunshang's eyes flashed with a strong, unbearable light. She couldn't help but say, "Junior sister Shangguan, Yunyao's cultivation has been destroyed and she has been taught a lesson. Why don't you let her live?" No matter what, Chu Yunyao was her sister. Seeing her sister suffer such humiliation, she was also extremely painful in her heart. Hearing this, without waiting for Shangguan Yingying to speak, Chu Yunyao had already angrily said, "Chu Yunshang, you don't need to come here to pretend to be kind. Since you've already decided to abandon me, why are you pretending to be a good person now? It's none of your business whether I live or die." "Yunyao," Chu Yunshang frowned. She couldn't do anything about it. If she could, she really wished that none of this had happened. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshang and said lightly, "Since Chu Yunyao doesn't appreciate your feelings, you don't need to think too highly of yourself. Since you've already made your decision, why are you still acting like this?" She didn't like Chu Yunshang either. If Chu Yunshang decided to completely ignore Chu Yunyao after leaving, she might appreciate it a little. Now she really did it and wanted to set up a chastity memorial arch. She also felt very disgusted. He and Jun took Chu Yunshang's hand and advised, "Yunshang, if you don't want to be buried with Chu Yunyao, then don't say anything. The current situation is not good for us. If you waver your position like this, maybe they will kill you directly." Chu Yunshang nodded helplessly. Now, she didn't dare to say anything more. Bewitching and Duan Huali's battle was in full swing. The tyrannical qi burst out, and wherever it passed, it was a mess. Chapter 3887. The more Duan Huali fought, the more shocked he became, because he realized that Di Beichen was so young, but his combat experience was so terrifying. Originally, he thought that even if Di Beichen's strength was comparable to his, he would still have a certain advantage in terms of combat experience. However, Di Beichen's performance was flawless, and he couldn't find a single flaw. This was a bit too terrifying. Could it be that all the cultivators who came out of the Demon Training Tower had such terrifying combat strength? After Di Beichen fought with Duan Huali for a while, he had a certain understanding of Duan Huali's strength, and the coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. In the next moment, Di Beichen and Duan Huali separated. "After probing for so long, you still haven't revealed your true strength. Now it's time for us to see the real deal." Di Beichen's voice was cold, and his deep eyes rippled with a cold light. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali couldn't help but be stunned, and his eyes flashed with a strong sense of astonishment. Probing, could it be that he used all his strength to fight with Di Beichen, but to Di Beichen, it was just a probe? Is it not? Di Beichen asked back. Duan Huali's expression was a bit ugly. Facing Di Beichen's words, he couldn't weaken his momentum, and immediately said, "Yes, it's time for us to see the real deal. Today, you're the one who's looking for trouble with me. If you die in my hands, don't regret it." Hearing this, Di Beichen sneered, "You're overestimating yourself. There's only one possibility today, and that is that you'll die in my hands." In the next moment, a vigorous aura erupted from Di Beichen's body, and a rich blood color mixed with darkness appeared in front of everyone's eyes. A faint smell of blood spread in the air, and Di Beichen's entire body was shrouded in a bloody aura. However, those who had seen Di Beichen's bloody aura before would find that the bloody aura he displayed this time was slightly different from usual. "Xiren, why do I feel that Beichen's bloody aura seems to have something more than usual?" Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at Xiren with a trace of curiosity in her eyes. Xiren nodded slightly. "I think so too. Maybe it has something to do with Beichen's murderous aura this time." Until now, Even they didn't know what effect of murderous aura had. Now that they had the opportunity to see Bewitching's display, they were very much looking forward to it. After Bewitching displayed the blood chi field, everyone was surprised to find that Bewitching's aura had improved. It can't be. This bloody aura is actually so abnormal. Bewitching is already a Starlight Realm cultivator, but it can still increase his cultivation. The extent of this increase is too terrifying. This is the power of the blood chi field. That's why there are so many cultivators fighting to be the first to obtain it. But according to what I know, it seems that after a cultivator reaches the Starlight Realm, the bloody aura can only increase their cultivation by 1 level. This is because the gap between each level is too big. Under everyone's curious gazes, Bewitching's aura directly increased from Starlight Realm Level 2 to Starlight Realm Level 3. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Although being able to increase by 1 level was very shocking, it was still easier to accept than increasing by 2 levels. Chapter 3888. The effect of this blood chi field is really amazing. I'm really envious of it. It's a pity that I didn't have that ability back then. Chu Jinfeng's eyes were filled with envy. When it comes to the ability to fight above one's level, the cultivator who has obtained the inheritance of the Blood Refining Tower is number 1. This is the reason why the Blood Refining Tower is so attractive. Ren Ziheng couldn't help but sigh. A genius inheritor that only appears once every few hundred years. The inheritance he possesses is naturally not something that ordinary people can obtain. It's not surprising that it has such a heaven-defying effect. Runzime nodded. Junior Brother D is so young, but now he already has the combat strength of a third-order star magnate. This is really terrifying. Originally, I was a little worried about the result of the fight between him and Duan Huali, but now it seems that he will definitely win. A smile appeared on Runzime's face. Bewitching had the means to improve his cultivation, but Duan Huali didn't. As a result, Duan Huali was bound to be at a disadvantage. In today's battle, they had won a complete victory. After Duan Huali saw Bewitching's aura improve, his eyes suddenly froze and his face became ugly. He couldn't help but look at Chu Yunyao, who was not far away, only to see that Chu Yunyao was now half dead. Her whole person was already disheartened. To be honest, not only was Chu Yunyao's cultivation destroyed, but she was also seriously injured. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't take her life now, she would definitely not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Duan Huali couldn't help but regret. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have joined in the fun today. Now he was in deep trouble. At this moment, Duan Huali didn't have any intention to continue fighting with Bewitching. Originally, he had already used all his skills, but he could only fight to a draw with Bewitching. Now that Bewitching's aura had increased, he had fallen into a disadvantageous position. He didn't need to fight to know that he would lose. If he was defeated by Bewitching, he was afraid that Bewitching would not show mercy. After all, he had expressed his interest in Bailey Hongzhuang in front of Bewitching. Therefore, Bewitching would definitely want to kill him. Duan Huali could not help but look around, his mind wondering if there was a chance for him to escape. Unfortunately, Bewitching seemed to have seen through his thoughts. His aura was tightly locked onto him, making it impossible for him to escape. Damn it! Duan Huali cursed in his heart. He really didn't expect that he would fall into such a situation today. No matter what, he couldn't fail at such an easy task. He had to escape today, but as far as the people present were concerned, there was really no one who could help him. Duan Huali, you don't have to think of a way to escape. I won't give you any chance. Bewitching directly exposed Duan Huali's thoughts. Hearing Bewitching's words, Duan Huali's face turned cold. He said, I don't have any thoughts of escaping. You're overthinking it. If that's the case, then that's even better. Bewitching heard this and didn't continue to argue with Duan Huali. In the next moment, the flowing light sword appeared in his hand. With a flash of his body, he charged towards Duan Huali at lightning speed. The difference between the third level and the second level of the star rays was not small. Debachin's attack forced Duan Huali to retreat step by step. Ding ding ding. Chapter 3889. The fighting strength of a third-order star magnate was very terrifying. There was only a gap of one order, but Debachin's fighting strength at this moment was much stronger than before. Duan Huali was originally able to fight on par with Debachin, but at this moment he was completely forced back by Debachin. He could only try his best to resist Debachin's attack, but there was no possibility of counterattack. Terrifying sword chi burst out in all directions. Wherever the two people passed, sword marks appeared on the ground. It was very terrifying. The surrounding cultivators all quickly retreated. The destructive power of this kind of cultivation was extremely terrifying. After seeing this scene, Niuzhuang couldn't help but rejoice. Fortunately, he had already decided not to be enemies with Debachin. Now it seemed that he really had foresight. If Debachin had displayed such strength at that time, he was afraid that he would have died in Debachin's hands. The younger generation would surpass the older. At this moment, there was only this thought in his mind. At the age of 20, he had broken through to the third-order star magnate. His future potential was really not ordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stood quietly at the side, watching the battle between Debachin and Duan Huali. Chu Yinyao was now half dead and had no influence on them. Instead of directly killing Chu Yinyao, it was better to let her calm down in this pain for a moment. Hongzhuang, Beichin's current strength is really amazing. Shang Ying couldn't help but sigh. When they returned to the outside world again, Situ Yin and the others would be shocked to know that Beichin's strength had improved. Yes, Beichin's appearance now is completely different from when he first came to Penglai Island. Xiren's face was filled with emotion. However, this is the Beichin I have always known. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Beichin's strength improvement is indeed astonishing. Now, the Heavenly Mandate body has only just shown its ability. In the long run, I'm afraid that our cultivation won't be able to catch up. Even though it was very difficult for her cultivation to catch up with Debachin, Bailey Hongzhuang was also very happy. Seeing Debachin's strength improve made her happier than her own. Debachin's attacks were extremely fierce, and the angle of his sword was also tricky and ruthless. After staying in the Demon Tower for so long, they took people's lives as soon as they made a move. Only in this way could they win more efficiently. Duan Huali had never been to the Demon Refining Pagoda before, so he was naturally unfamiliar with this kind of fighting style. Under Debachin's offensive, he was surrounded by danger. If he was not careful, he could be seriously injured by Debachin. This feeling made him extremely uncomfortable. The flowing light sword flew, bringing with it a bloody light. When Debachin withdrew the flowing light sword, everyone found that Duan Huali's body had wounds. His originally neat clothes were now covered with bloodstains, and his hair had become extremely messy. Where was the elegant and proud appearance from before? Duan Huali is unlucky today. I'm afraid he will stay here forever. The cultivators present shook their heads and sighed. They didn't expect such an ending. Duan Huali stayed in Penglai Palace. Who knows how many women have been harmed by him? If he dies, it's a good thing. Chu Yinyao happened to be his companion. He won't be lonely on the road to the Yellow Springs. Chapter 3890. Duan Huali's face was gloomy, as black as the bottom of a pot. The pain in his body was far less than the pain in his heart at the moment. In the face of a grasshopper that he could pinch to death and will now control his life and death, this gap was undoubtedly huge. He wanted to let Bailey Hongzhuang know how much stronger he was than Debachin, but now the situation was a direct slap to his face. Chu Yunshang and Chu Yunyao's eyes fell on Duan Huali, and their hearts were full of worry. Chu Yinyao was now completely disheartened But she didn't want Duan Huali to die like this. If she had been destroyed by Bailey Hongzhuang before, then she wouldn't have asked Duan Huali for help, and wouldn't have dragged Duan Huali into the water. He and Jun couldn't help but look at Chu Yunshan beside him. After seeing the deep worry in the latter's eyes, he couldn't help but frown, and a few wisps of unhappiness appeared between his eyebrows. When he pursued Chu Yunshan, he knew that Chu Yunshan's heart was tied to Duan Huali, but because of Chu Yunyao, they had to separate. He thought that after such a long time, Chu Yunshan had already changed her mind, but he didn't expect that she was still so worried about Duan Huali at this moment. Could it be that his sincerity these days had no meaning to Chu Yunshan? Thinking of this, an unspeakable hatred also spread in He Yunjuan's heart. Boom! A shocking sound resounded. Di Beichen and Duan Huali's attacks collided fiercely. The whole ground seemed to tremble, and there was a feeling of heaven and earth shattering. Everyone only saw the two bright lights colliding with each other. Immediately after, they felt the earth-shattering power. They were all shocked. However, amidst the dazzling light, no one knew what was going on with Di Beichen and Duan Huali. It was not until a muffled groan was heard that a figure fell heavily to the ground like a parabola. Everyone's eyes narrowed as they realized that this person was Duan Huali. When everyone saw Duan Huali's miserable appearance, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Duan Huali's clothes had long been torn by Di Beichen's sword, revealing bits of blood. Now that they were mixed with dust and mud, he looked even more battered and exhausted. Most importantly, Duan Huali's face was extremely pale. It was obvious that he had suffered a heavy blow. On the contrary, Di Beichen looked as if nothing had happened. He still had a graceful and elegant appearance, without the slightest bit of disorder. This kind of contrast in strength made everyone sigh. "You've lost," Di Beichen said slowly. Following Di Beichen's words, Duan Huali's face became increasingly gloomy, but he couldn't say anything. He had indeed lost, and he had lost very badly. In the next moment, Di Beichen looked at Duan Huali, his eyes cold and indifferent. "Back then, I had said that I would definitely kill you. Today, I can also fulfill this promise." Duan Huali's pupils suddenly shrank, and he immediately struggled to stand up. He didn't want to die here. However, Di Beichen's movements were extremely fast. With a wave of his right hand, the flowing light sword directly pierced out, mercilessly attacking Duan Huali. Seeing this, Duan Huali immediately wanted to dodge, but unfortunately he had just been severely injured and couldn't quickly dodge. Chapter 3891. The appearance of this figure was beyond everyone's expectations. Everyone looked at Chu Yunyao, who was standing in front of Duan Huali, in astonishment. The flowing light sword mercilessly pierced Chu Yunyao's body. She couldn't help but groan. Blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth, and she slowly fell down. Yunyao, Duan Huali stared at the figure in front of him in a daze. As if he had been hit by a heavy blow, he quickly stepped forward and caught Chu Yunyao's body. He had never thought that Chu Yunyao would actually stand in front of him. Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali, and a smile slowly appeared on her lips. "Huali, it's good that you can still hug me." She looked at Duan Huali's face with infatuation. She reached out her hand and slowly covered it. Her eyes were blurred and happy. "I wanted to do this a long time ago, but you never gave me a chance." "Yunyao." Duan Huali held Chu Yunyao's hand. His eyes were full of pity and pity. "Why are you so stupid?" Chu Yunyao smiled faintly. "I've been abolished and seriously injured. I definitely can't live. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me being too stingy, things wouldn't have turned out like this. Sister is right. You've all let go of this matter. I'm the only one who's still stubborn. It's just that, Huali, for so many years, I've never liked anyone until I met you. I'm not as free and easy as you. I can't let go just like that. Chu Yunyao like someone for a lifetime." Tears slowly fell from the corners of Chu Yunyao's eyes. "I know I'm wrong, but But if I don't do something related to you, I really can't bear it. Even if you hate me, at least you still remember me. After I leave, don't forget me. Okay? Chu Yunyao stared at Duan Huali and pleaded. Duan Huali nodded repeatedly, his face full of tension. No, you'll be fine. For a long time, he only felt that Chu Yunyao was too willful and unreasonable. Compared with Chu Yunyao, Chu Yunshang was undoubtedly much more mature than her. Over the years, Chu Yunyao had been doing these little things. In fact, he was very tired of it, but for the sake of Chu Yunshang, he ignored it. However, he forgot one thing. The reason why Chu Yunyao did this was that she cared for him. In contrast, Chu Yunshang's feelings were much lighter than Chu Yunyao's. When Bailey's eyes, a strange look appeared on Yunyao's eyes. They always thought that the reason why Chu Yunyao did this was because of her strong possessiveness, destroying the mutual love between Chu Yunshang and Duan Huali, but they never thought that her feelings for Duan Huali were so strong. Originally, there was a certain distance between Chu Yunyao and Duan Huali. After she was seriously injured, she had already suffered great pain. But after seeing that Duan Huali was injured, she tried to get close to Duan Huali. Until Di Baichen's flowing light sword flew out, Chu Yunyao burst out with a very fast speed and blocked in front of Duan Huali. Thinking about it, only when the person you care about the most is in danger can you burst out with such speed. They only thought that Chu Yunyao was vicious, selfish, and ruthless before, but they didn't realize the depth of her feelings for Duan Huali. Chapter 3892. Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with a complicated light. She originally hated Chu Yunyao to the extreme. She only thought that this woman was completely crazy. But at this moment, when she heard Chu Yunyao's words before she died, she suddenly felt that Chu Yunyao was a little pitiful. In fact, it was Chu Yunyao who fell in love with Duan Huali first. The two of them fell in love at first sight, but so many things happened because of a strange combination of circumstances. If Duan Huali hadn't recognized the wrong person at the beginning, maybe they would have been a couple envied by everyone now. Unfortunately, in the end, they fell in love with each other and became what they are now. Bailey Hongshuang's eyebrows also showed a bit of emotion. It was a pity that the two sisters fell in love with the same person. Chu Yunyao's destruction of the relationship between Duan Huali and Chu Yunshang was indeed selfish. But in the end, she liked him too much, so she couldn't let it go. She didn't understand Chu Yunyao at first, but after hearing what the latter said just now, she suddenly understood. Because she liked him too much, she couldn't accept that he was close to any woman except her, because as long as she thought about it, it was unbearable. They all ignored Chu Yunyao's love for Duan Huali. They only thought that she was too willful and unwilling to let it go, but they didn't know that she only loved this person in her life. After seeing Chu Yunyao suffer such a heavy blow, Chu Yunshang also rushed to Chu Yunyao, tears flowing uncontrollably. Yunyao? Yunyao, how are you? Chu Yunyao shook her head. Sister, forgive me for not being so magnanimous. I understand. Chu Yunshang nodded repeatedly. I understand what you said. Even if I die, I still can't accept you being together, and can't accept him as my brother-in-law. Chu Yunyao's face showed a painful look. However, after I die, I should not know anything. Yunyao, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. Chu Yunshang quickly said, and immediately took out the elixir from her chinquan bag and fed it to Chu Yunyao. You'll be fine. Chu Yunyao shook her head. Without cultivation, I'm already a cripple. Living is only painful. It's better to die and be free. After I die, I can also walk out of this relationship like you. With that, Chu Yunyao looked at Duan Huali again and asked, Huali, at the beginning, did you really not like me at all? Sister, is she really so much better than me? No one knew how happy she was when she and Duan Huali fell in love with each other. For more than 20 years, no one had entered her heart until Duan Huali appeared. Everything was so logical. One look was enough to make her remember it for the rest of her life. She thought that it was God's arrangement, that he was the love of her life, but she didn't expect God to play tricks on her. She looked the same as her sister, but she didn't expect that the person she liked would be the same as well. And Chu Yunxiang Chu Yunyao's fall in love with him. She could not. She knew that she was selfish, but she just wanted to be with Duan Huali. She crazily wanted him to be by her side. As long as he was willing, she was willing to give up everything. Unfortunately, Duan Huali began to hate her. Hearing this, Duan Huali was slightly stunned and couldn't help but look at Chu Yunxiang. Chapter 3893. He had thought that in this matter, he and Chu Yunxiang had been hurt the most, but now it seemed that the most painful person was Chu Yunyao. He had hurt her so deeply, but she still loved him with her life. When Xiren shook his head and sighed, "It's really a sin. If she had told Duan Huali her feelings earlier, she might have been able to get married. But she had to do so many things. A pitiful person must have something to hate. You can't live if you want to." Di Beichun said coldly. Bailey Hongzhuang also agreed. Although Chu Yunyao was pitiful in this relationship, weren't so many women who died in her hands more innocent? In the end, it was because he had taken the wrong path, and he had to be responsible for what he had done. If it weren't for their strength, they would have become ghosts under Chu Yunyao's sword. In the future, it was unknown how many female cultivators would die because of his resentment. "I did." Duan Huali held Chu Yunyao's hand tightly. "I like you." Listening to Duan Huali's words, Chu Yunyao's face showed a satisfied smile. As soon as she opened her mouth, she couldn't help coughing. Blood spurted out, and her breath was weak to the extreme. "Yunyao." Duan Huali's face was full of tension. He hugged Chu Yunyao tightly. "You can't have anything happen to you. It was all my fault before." Chu Yunyao's lips curled into a smile. Her face was pale to the extreme. She reached out and stroked Duan Huali's face. "Hearing you say this, I'm already satisfied. Even if you lied to me, I believe it. I'm really happy." Suddenly, Chu Yunyao's hand fell down heavily. Duan Huali and Chu Yunxiang were both shocked. Yunyao. However, Chu Yunyao closed her eyes and no longer breathed. Duan Huali and Chu Yunxiang's faces were covered with tears. Duan Huali even hugged Chu Yunyao's body and cried. Everyone sighed when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that it would end up like this. "Hongzhuang, do you think Duan Huali is real? Does he really like Chu Yunyao?" Shangguan Ying raised her eyebrows, her eyes full of curiosity. She felt that the love Duan Huali said should be to comfort Chu Yunyao. The one he really liked should be Chu Yunxiang. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and said, "It's true." Shangguan Ying was slightly stunned. Why? In fact, Duan Huali didn't know whether he liked Chu Yunyao or Chu Yunxiang, but compared with Chu Yunyao's selfishness and Chu Yunxiang's selflessness, Chu Yunyao was inferior, so Duan Huali liked Chu Yunxiang more. However, Chu Yunxiang was now a couple with He Yunjun, but Chu Yunyao was willing to die for him. This gave him a great impact. At the beginning, didn't Duan Huali like Chu Yunxiang as Chu Yunyao? So he must have liked Chu Yunyao, and I'm afraid he has fallen in love with Chu Yunyao now. It's really unbelievable to talk about love with a playboy like Duan Huali. Rinzime shook her head and sighed. She thought that would be a pleasure to teach Chu Yunyao a lesson today, but she didn't expect to see this emotional scene in the end. Chapter 3894. Duan Huali was immersed in grief, holding Chu Yunyao's body in a daze. He sat there as if he had lost his soul. No one knew what he was thinking. Chu Yunxiang was also sitting aside in a daze. She had always felt that Chu Yunyao was too overbearing and selfish. If it were someone else, she would have ignored them long ago. It was only because of this blood relationship that she could not give up that she had been tolerant and patient. In fact, many times, she was also extremely tired of Chu Yunyao, especially when Chu Yunyao accused her of being the third party in their relationship. She was angry and aggrieved. Later, She was forced by Chu Yunyao to separate from Duan Huali. She had also complained and suffered. However, when Chu Yunyao apologized to her just now, her heart felt an unprecedented pain. She began to blame herself for not choosing to quit at the beginning. If she had chosen to quit and let Chu Yunyao succeed, then she would not have ended up like this now. In fact, she had no right to complain about Chu Yunyao's selfishness because she did not choose to quit at the beginning, which was also a kind of selfishness. However, in the future, her sister would no longer make trouble without reason. Duan Huali, don't think that you can escape death by pretending to be sad here. Xiren suddenly said. Their purpose today was very clear. They wanted to kill Chu Yunyao and Duan Huali. Now that Chu Yunyao was dead, it was Duan Huali's turn. Duan Huali raised his head in a daze, as if he had lost his soul. Obviously, Chu Yunyao's death had given him a great blow. Not long after, Duan Huali stood up and looked at Di Beichun and said, "Since you want to take my life, then do it." Hearing Duan Huali's words, everyone present couldn't help but be stunned. They didn't expect that Chu Yunyao's death would give him such a big blow that he didn't even want his own life. Di Beichun looked at Duan Huali indifferently. His body moved, and he didn't hold back. He directly punched Duan Huali's dantian. Duan Huali's figure flew backward and fell heavily to the ground. His face flashed with intense pain. "You should pay for what you've done." Di Beichun's voice was cold. In the end, he didn't even look at Duan Huali. He turned around and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Holding Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, he said, "Let's go back." Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were a little surprised by Di Beichun's decision. However, since Di Beichun had already said so, they naturally had no objections. "Okay." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and turned to leave with Di Beichun. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others leave, everyone present couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Today's battle was really too lively. Di Beichun didn't kill Duan Huali directly, but just abolished his cultivation. It's really unexpected. In fact, what's the difference between abolishing his cultivation and killing him? It's just that he's still alive, but he's no longer as powerful as before. It's impossible for him to continue to stay in the Penglai Palace. With such cultivation, I'm afraid that he would have died before he could leave the Penglai Palace. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. At the beginning, the relationship between Duan Huali and the other two caused a shock. Now, the ending was also amazing. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.